What's up guys? Today we're playing Epic 7 and we're going over the limited custom group breakup banner. And first of all, what is this banner? It can be very confusing, so we're going to break it down in very simple terms. On a normal banner, when you summon for a very specific hero, you have 120 summons until you're guaranteed to pull that hero. This means that if you pull her on the 5th summon or the 50th summon, it will reset this counter, and you're always going to be guaranteed to summon this hero after 120. If you pull on the artifact, you can get as many artifacts as you want, and they will give them to you, and it'll only be the artifacts that you don't need, but there is no counter for artifacts, and you can continually summon them. If we go look at our percentages, then we see that we have 1% to summon the hero, and then 1.75 to summon their artifact. On the custom banner, we do have the same percentages, 1% for the hero and 1.75% for their artifact. The difference is that now we have replaced our summoning counter with a shop, and we have 3 different heroes that we're summoning for. Every single pull that you do on this banner can summon any one of these heroes, and it's not limited, which means that you can do 1,000 summons and get multiples of each one without resetting, and every one of your summons is going to give you some currency for the shop. Also, we have their individual artifacts that are possible as well every time that you are able to summon on this banner. What's really amazing here is that you can get heroes that you might not have, heroes that you really want because either you missed their banner or because you started Epic 7 a little bit later, and these heroes will open the doors for you in either PvP or PvE content. As we look at the heroes that are available in our pool, we see that we do have limited summons, and we have what is called, red, blue, green, or fire, water, and earth heroes from the Epic 7 lore. What you don't see here is you don't see collaboration heroes. This banner is typically released before a collaboration event or before some big event within the game. And so this is going to give you the opportunity for sure to expand your hero pool, collect the heroes that you don't need, and also open up a content that you haven't been able to conquer yet. But what it does do as well is it limits the resources you have for, let's say, the collaboration that's coming up. So make sure that you are planning effectively so that you can summon all the things that you want to and avoid that frustration of not being able to pull the heroes that you really want. Now, what we're going to do today is I'm going to have recommendations for all of the categories of heroes that are available within this custom summon. One thing I do want to say before we begin is you can see that we only have heroes that have been released within 6 months of the banner. After Arunka, we do have Bihu that was released. We also have Elagos. I don't have them, and as you can see here, they are not available. So if you missed a recent banner, those are not going to appear. That's normal part of the game. It's the same when you go into the side story missions, where you're not able to summon those heroes for 6 months after the release. As you can see as well, I don't have Araminta. Oh my goodness. When we look at the different kinds of animations, the different kinds of hero avatars, we can see Araminta has a very different look than someone like Hua Young or the newer heroes. These ones they're just more shiny, they're more vibrant, and you can sort of tell who the older heroes are. I hope that one day Epic 7 goes back and they start to update some of these heroes just a little bit. Hopefully they don't change them, but hopefully they update the graphics and their animations just a bit. But we're getting off topic. Let's go in. We're going to look at the heroes and the heroes that I recommend that you should summon for various parts of your game. The very first group that we have today is the Warriors. Warriors and Rangers are the most varied group and also the most numerous. So there's going to be a lot of heroes that you might want, a lot of heroes that you see used in the meta, but we're only going to go over the recommendations that I have. If you have any questions about heroes, feel free to leave those in the comments and I'll be happy to go over them with you. Now, very first up is we have Luna. She was the very first limited unit, and she does hit super hard. They keep updating her for the new meta, but unfortunately, she's not really used. A lot of players, they really force her into situations that she's not ideal for because they have her and they really love her animation or they love her style. She's very easy to build because you have this passive ability that grants you additional crit chance. Also, you have the advantageous element on her S3, which hits very hard with the penetration, and you have onto her S1 the soul burn, which gives you a ton of damage. Now, what's really great about Luna is she comes with one of the best warrior artifacts in the game, and that's Draco Plate. So if you're able to summon on her banner, definitely try and pick up a Draco Plate. But Luna, she's a great hero. She's just not as widely used as she once was because other heroes have come out that have sort of replaced her. As a new player, I probably would not summon for Luna. If you already have her, she's really great in Expedition and she's good into raid and sometimes PvP content. But again, there are other heroes that you have that you probably are using. Holiday Euphine was released when Basar was really a problem in the meta, and what she has is onto her passive ability, she reduces the amount of combat readiness that you can be reduced by. This was really important when Basar was out because he was just crushing everyone onto the ignore effect resist and then pushing you all the way back onto arena and onto guild wars. Unfortunately, this is sort of a thing where they created the cancer, they brought out the cure, then the cancer went away, and now we don't need the cure. She is useful in today's meta because she does have remove 2 debuffs from all allies, increases attack, and combat readiness. Now, she's not going to be an amazing hero for damage, but she does have a lot of utility. The problem is, again, that we just don't have the main reason why that she was introduced. If they have heroes in the future that really manipulate combat readiness, then I think that she'll be coming back again. But you can use her as a cleanser, you can build her pretty quick, and she does work out if you have her. Now, she comes with a really great artifact as well in Champion's Trophy because it gives you this effectiveness and it gives you a chance to stun, which is just something like Abyssal Crown, but for warriors. So for someone like her, someone like that will do AoE on their S1, then this becomes a really good artifact to use. The best hero that I think is going to be Zahak. Zahak is super amazing in today's meta because he receives this 50% chance to hit. We have a lot of heroes in the meta right now who have evasion. So Zahak, he comes in. I almost don't even take him out of my teams because he is just so good for pretty much everything that is being released right now. Another hero that I think is really good but annoying is going to be Shu. At this point, I'm sure that you've seen her. I'm sure that she's wrecked your face in at least one way, and you just never know what you're going to get with your Shu. She has an opportunity to use her S1 and then use her S2 once you include the exclusive equipment, and this penetrates by 70%. If you put her onto pen set, on a counter set, then she's able to have an Elbrus-like effect when her S3 is on cooldown, and if you hit her, then she has a chance to counterattack, and with every one of those, she can proc that S2 and then just blast you. I have had her just completely ignore green units, completely ignore my tankiest knights, and she just wrecks. I'm sure all of you have seen her. She is really good. If you want to pull for her, she's super fun to use, but again, a little bit annoying with how she talks and how she functions. I have used Alencia with a lot of success now when we are using this bruiser meta and injury together. What she does is she's able to proc her S1 and S2 and provide these injuries. If you put her on injury set with penetration, she does a ton of damage and she's able to really knock down a lot of these heroes that become walls as you get into arena and into guild war. People that have 25,000 HP suddenly have 18,000 HP, and she really does that. Now, because she can proc the defense break on her S1, this gives you potential for a lot of damage. And so I really like her a lot. And next up, we have the Knights. Now, the funny thing about the Knights is, in my opinion, the two best Knights in the game are actually three-star specialty change heroes. And that is going to be SC Airwell and also Pillis. So while we do have these five-star heroes, you can pretty much do most things in the game with just those specialty change. In my opinion, the best Knight is going to be OG Crow. He is amazing because we have a lot of heroes that are water and earth in today's meta. You can build him at about 180 speed with a ton of bulk, let them beat him up, and then just nail him with the horse, which will kill most everyone. And I really like that a lot. So he is a staple on my teams and one of my very favorite heroes. If you don't have Crow, he opens up a ton of doors. But also keep in mind the two best knights in the game, in my opinion, are specialty change heroes, which are free. If we go to Fire Cecilia, she is very, very good at expeditions. You can use her into the fire, you can use her into the earth, and you can also use her into light and dark expos. So really great. And she doesn't have a ton of requirements. You can basically build her on free gear and she'll work out just fine. Lilias, they just buffed and they made her, I would say, essential. She deals with Lua. She deals with a lot of people that have this non-skill attack. When they use a non-skill attack, then she's going to hit them with this provoke and a barrier. If you build her with high effectiveness, then you can effectively shut down a unit or prevent your enemy from using a lot of skills. If you want to build her with damage, she gets a 50% critical hit chance built into her kit, and you can build her with really high HP and really high crit damage. She also utilizes the attack of the hero with the highest attack on your team, which means that you can pair her with someone like Gunther or someone like Hua Young or Senya, and she will do damage on her S3 based on their attack instead of her own HP. Very, very useful unit. The thief heroes are very interesting. Most of your thief heroes are going to be light and dark units, but we do have the RBGs here in the custom drop rate up banner. Now, what you'll notice is that there are no limited thieves, and so Smilegate, they really focus a lot on warriors and they really focus a lot on rangers. Not nearly as many thieves and not nearly as many of our knights as other types of heroes. But the best thief in the game is going to be Celine. I really like her a lot. On her passive ability, if you use a non-skill attack, she's going to punish you and hit you so hard, which is really, really fun to use. Also, no longer affected by elemental disadvantage. This means that the enemy cannot hide behind a high attack fire unit and hope for that miss. They can still hide behind, let's say, an evasion unit, and you might not be able to hit them, but that's going to be something that you can mitigate against. And really, what really brings Celine to the forefront is that when you're in RTA, similar to Politis, it's going to change the way players play against you, which is, and it alters the game in a way where as long as you have her on the field, then that forces someone to think. It forces them to make a mistake, and next thing you know, you can turn the tide of battle. Her S3 hits super hard, gives her evasion, and no damage sharing effects. This means that the enemy cannot hide behind really thick knights like SC Airwell or Troublemaker Crozet, and you can just one-shot somebody from the back row, which makes it really great for you to play in that aggressive style, right? And I think that's going to be about it for the Thief heroes. There are no other heroes that you really absolutely need. People love Ran, but in my opinion, he's really great as an opener. You would build him something like 300 or more speed, 100% crit chance, and then put the rest into damage, or maybe even into effectiveness, depending on how you run him. For most players, they're never going to be able to achieve these stats. So there's no reason to pull him besides the fact that he looks super cool. Now you can build him in other ways, but for the most part, if you see a Ran, he's going to be 300, 305, 310 speed and hit really, really hard. Rangers are the exact opposite of the thief hero. Most thieves are going to be used in the exact same way. They're either going to have an evasion mechanic or they're just meant to do a lot of damage and not really survive. Rangers are built in pretty much every way possible. Some of them are going to be bruisers, some of them are going to be in a cleave situation, a lot of them are going to be doing big, big damage, but they're generally well rounded, similar to warriors. Now, the very probably one of the best heroes in the whole game is going to be the very first one that we have, and that's Landy. She does an amazing job in pretty much all content. I don't particularly like the sort of Gundam style here, but she is amazing, and you can't help but love using her. Her S3 does pretty much everything, right? Does not trigger a counter, penetrates, it also increases combat readiness and gives speed. I mean, it's great. She gives herself more attack, stacking up to 10 times. Her S1 gives her more combat readiness. That's doubled when the enemy is buffed. I use her a lot into expeditions. She's also really great into PvP. She's great into RTA. She's a staple everywhere, and you can definitely use her in pretty much all content. As far as heroes go, this is the one that you really want from this banner if you're going to summon. Seaside Bologna is the original oppressive hero. She is she's just amazing. Everyone knows Seaside Bologna by now, but now she also has a lot of counters. Her S3 has very good debuffs for a lot of content, especially into PvP, and she's going to trigger her S2 as she's building up stacks. So this is something where she can do a lot of damage very, very quickly with this decrease in defense. I use her primarily for Wyvern 13 to clear out that first wave, but you can also use her into PvP and you can build her a number of ways. You can build her as a bruiser who's just going to counter and activate that S2 over and over and over again, or you can build her as a very sort of tanky unit. You can build her on a lifesteal, you can build her on injury. She does a fantastic job in all parts of the game. If you don't have Seaside, you definitely need Seaside. Cerise isn't really used as much anymore, probably not used at all by most players. She was the original, I wouldn't say even original. She was an opener who was very good for a short period. I actually love her avatar more than almost almost all heroes in the game, right? She has a really cool haircut. She has really good vibe. She is, I think, what Furious's daughter, and so really, really funny there, but just not used anymore. I had her built from back in the day, and so she's basically banished into the light expedition, and we were able to do all the Dagger Sakara achievements for light expedition using Cerise. Now she does have one of the best artifacts in the game, which grants you stealth to your ranger. So this will help protect you when your ranger heroes are a little squishier or you don't want them targeted so they can sit back and do big damage. This is also good when you're looking at things like Landy, right? You put Landy into stealth and then she's just going to cycle, 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 and she's always going to be back there doing damage and while you're not able to target her. Summertime Azaria is a very fun hero to use. She's a bomb hero, right? She was one of, I think, the first bomb hero. Maybe it was Moonlight Leo. But what she does is when you do a AoE, then she plants a bomb. She gets a free soul burn onto her S1 where she can plant another bomb. Then she detonates those bombs onto her S3. If you build her with decent attack, very fast, high effectiveness, she's doing 5,000 to 2 to 3 targets and putting them on stun, but she's a very aggressive play style. So if you're a hero, if you're a player who can't build heroes that are 300 speed that can do openers, then I'm not sure Summertime Azaria is as useful to you. Also, unfortunately, you must use her own artifact, and it pretty much must be maxed out. You can get away with a plus 15, but she's going to be most consistent when you have her own artifact, and that artifact is maxed out. So if you don't have her, I think that she is worth a pull, but keep in mind the play style that you're going to run with her. She's going to fit very well into that aggressive first turn play style where you're able to take that initiative and really lay down the damage and the debuffs on the enemy team. As we sort of scroll down here, we have Flan, which I think is very, very good. People build her very fast in a very specific, again, cleaver sort of aggro style. What she can do is she can make unhealable and decrease defense for 2 turns, 100%, decrease the combat readiness, get an extra turn, and then now she can add combat readiness, attack, and crit damage onto one of your heroes. As far as I can remember, she might be the only one who can do attack and crit damage on the same skill. I'd have to think about that. And also increase combat readiness. So she's very, very useful to bring up someone who's slow, who hits hard, and put down a lot of damage onto the enemy team. And next up, we have the mages. Now, most of the mages are going to be similar to Thief, but now we start to add in debuffs, right? Fairy Tale Tenebria is a very good example of this. On her S3, on her S2, on her S1, debuffs on every one of her skills. This is going to be similar to like a Dizzy who came with collaboration. Now, while you can use this style of play to really disable the enemy team, it's not as popular as it once was because now we have heroes that are being built with very high effect resist while also having the innate 15% chance to miss. I will say Fairy Tale Tenebria, super fun hero to use. When she works, she completely disables the enemy team, and then you just sort of blast and have your way with them. Very, very fun hero, but this is not the style that everybody really wants to use anymore. Her artifact, one of the best in the game for a lot of different mages. Things like Archdemon Mercedes, things like Solitaria of the Snow, or even Champion Zerato, they're all sporting this artifact, and you can use it at plus 15. It combines the Violin debuff or buff removal with also fixed damage. And that's been a problem with the mages who add all these debuffs in. While you can disable the enemy team, you also need to be able to do some damage, and this artifact helps to fill that void. Vivian is an amazing hero. She will open up a ton of doors for you, either into Expedition or into Hunt. A lot of times when you are looking to one-shot a hunt, Vivian is the answer. She's going to be there in some way. And then next up, I want to mention Arya. People really love her. I don't use her very much, but I do want to mention it. Arya is a defense-based mage who has stealth and counterattack on her S3. So she's going to protect all of your allies in a way that no other hero can really do. And when the only option is to hit her and she's counterattacking and hitting 2 enemies with a chance to blind at the same time, well, now this is going to be really, really amazing to disable the enemy team and force them into a particular type of gameplay. Again, I don't really use Arya, but I do want to mention her here because she's super popular. And the same thing with Politis. I have a strict no creepy dolls policy. So I'm not going to build Bail Sazan. I'm also not going to build Politis. But she hits super hard and she's amazing. When someone uses a non-skill attack, she's going to activate this S2, hit everyone with an AoE, then come in and blast them again with her S3. She hits very, very hard. She's not particularly hard to build. You don't need to be super fast to use her, and she really forces the enemy to play a particular way when you bust her out into RTA. So those heroes are the ones that I would say you should probably target. And last up, we have Soul Weavers. This is going to be quite an easy group to review and to look at. There are not very many Soul Weavers at all, and so most everyone is using pretty much the same heroes. Dien, I think, is fantastic. There was one RTA season where Soul Weavers receive like extra speed, and I was first picking Dien every single time, and she makes a lot of the game easier. She has the critical resistance buff, which is very good going into or using with your Shu, using with your Senya. Works out very, very well, and she's able to increase attack as well. Onto her S2, she removes debuffs and grants a barrier. The problem is that neither one of these are using any kind of healing ability. So she needs to have an artifact that grants healing, or else you find yourself just sort of whittling down. You must build her fast, you must build her with high effect resist, similar to pretty much all the Soul Weavers, right? They're all built in mostly the same way. When she works, she does work very well, but I think that she works best as mitigation while bringing in other dedicated healer if you're playing into that standard style. But I do like Deanna. I don't think she's a must pull. If you have her, definitely build her, but I don't think that you target her in this situation unless you think that she's going to really open it up for you into your RTA. Tamarin, probably the best Soul Weaver in the whole game. She has pretty much everything that you want, right? She can remove debuffs. She has healing. She has combat readiness buff. She has dual attacks. She has attack increase. Like she's fantastic. In PvE, you can use her in pretty much anything. It doesn't matter if it's water, doesn't matter if it's fire. The answer is usually Tamarin. And I use her onto my auto hell raid very, very well. And you can use her into Nightmare as well. Not a whole lot to say about Tamarin, except that she brings anything you can ever possibly need, and she's pretty much always the answer. Rowana is amazing. I kind of hate her design, but she's really good into a lot of content because she brings in this increased combat readiness and healing on her passive ability. If you watch me play in a lot of games, most of the time I don't even use her S3. I just rely on people counterattacking and dual attacking me and healing all day long. Some cases you can bring Rowana with almost anyone and win because the enemy just can't kill you, which is really, really fantastic. She's also used on my auto teams for Labyrinth, and you can use her into a ton of Guild War and a ton of arena content. So even though I don't particularly like her design, you can't ignore the fact that her passive ability is one of the best in the game. Custom banners are an amazing opportunity for you to collect the heroes that you really want when you have additional resources, but also if you're a late game player, this will allow you to really collect the imprints that you like, speed imprints, critical imprints, or just imprints on your favorite heroes, including those heroes that are Moonlight heroes, where you can pull their RBG version and then imprint the other hero that you really like to use. But it does come with a little bit of things that you have to consider. The very first thing is that a custom banner is better than a regular banner because you get to summon on 3 different heroes and 3 different artifacts with essentially the same pity system where you're able to buy out that hero after 120 summons. Keep this in mind though. They release these prior to a big event like a collaboration, so make sure that you don't run out of resources. Plan ahead. Do your Garo shop refreshes. Make sure that you have enough to summon for those other heroes that you really want, while also keeping in mind that you might want to collect through the custom banner those heroes that you're missing. It can be really good, but it can also lead to frustration. You don't want to get into a situation where you regret the summons that you've made because now that limits your future ability to get new heroes that are only available for a limited time. All heroes will become available through their normal banner, as the year progresses, and you'll have other opportunities to get them. Let me know in the comments if there are other heroes that you want to talk about, and I'll be happy to recommend them for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Give me a like so other people just like you can find it as well. Until next time, happy hunting and good luck on your battles.